Welcome to another edition of the mma-analysis podcast. Last week, I had the vest. This week, we're going with the Hanukkah socks.
I hope the socks give us more luck than the fucking vest last week, because I
Hey,
think it was a bit of a bloodbath for everyone
the
on this
vest
podcast.
did exactly what it needed to do.
It pulled through in one spot.
The only fight that mattered was the one that it pulled through for us. Let's just get right into it. We'll bounce around to other topics as we go, but Do Bronx. It's just I don't know what to say. Sean, get us started.
I mean, we're one of the biggest, I think, Do Bronx fans podcasts out there. I had money on him. I had money on him by decision. Even I didn't really think it would be that easy. He's been showing some just really good wrestling, but obviously that was against, who it was against, some shitty guys. Him doing that to Tony is pretty impressive. I know Tony's he has credentials, but he's not the greatest wrestler, I would say, and he has been taken down by some guys, but that's still impressive to be able to do what he did and just out-grapple him. Not even just wrestling, just out-grappling him. That armbar, holy fuck.
Tony tapped.
It looked like he did. When I was watching it, I didn't have sound on just because I was doing some other shit, but it looked like he tapped maybe once. I don't know, but I'm happy he didn't, because I hit that decision plus 525.
I wish I did. I gave it out. I couldn't bet it. I couldn't bet it based on principle, but it's obvious that that's what was going to happen. I mean,
it almost didn't. But
yeah, you know what? I think there's a lot of people coming out of this fight that are now like, oh, now Tony's shot.
Yep.
Physically gone.
Yep.
I don't even think that's it.
No.
People are just trying to take more credit away from our boy Do Bronx, because
I feel like that part of the game doesn't get too washed. It's more like standing, getting dropped and shit like that. Guys will be able to grapple. If they're a good grapple, they'll be able to grapple. It's just taking shit on the feet is where it kind of loses it.
Being washed either doesn't have anything to do with Do Bronx literally bodying Tony multiple times, literally picking him up like he's a fucking high school wrestler and slamming his ass. I tweeted, I was like, man, out of everything, Do Bronx's hands has gotten better, striking, his boxing. His wrestling, especially his offensive wrestling, has become insanely good, man. It was crazy to watch. I do think Tony's a little on the downslide, but
for sure.
That had nothing to do with this performance, to where it took place. Tony's. You might not look at a ninth planet black belt like you would some Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms. It's still a really good black belt, and the guy's got 15 years of competing in that shit. He got fucking demolished in the jiu-jitsu. I'm like, Do Bronx was doing whatever he wanted. He was never worried about Tony one time, and that should tell you something.
That's the crazy thing.
Anywhere that fight went on the feet, Do Bronx was throwing his boxing look like he wasn't worried about Tony anywhere. That's a different guy.
He was walking through what Tony was throwing. Tony hit him a bit early in that first round, and it did not seem to phase him. There was definitely no quit. I think that narrative's gone now. He got hit. He took it well, and he was throwing right back, man.
He took a couple big ones from Tony in that fight, especially in the first round, I believe. His chin looks great. I can't say enough about the improvement of Do Bronx. It's pretty crazy that we've watched that evolution of him.
Lance did indeed sacrifice his health, his voice.
He'll never talk again. He'll never talk again. Lance is never going to have a voice again. If Do Bronx wins a title, that man might walk off a bridge.
He's a monk. He's going to be a monk.
Man.
It was beautiful. And, I enjoyed it even more because there's a lot of nerds out there, and a lot of nerds who had just learned how to say Do Bronx last week, because I don't know. I heard some weird stuff. Some Do Bronx, and stop. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourselves. Just get on board the train. There's still plenty of room. Been driving it for years, and it's not stopping.
There's a lot of believers now. I will say, like, the man probably deserves that shot. What else?
He's not gonna get it though.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
I know, because you know why? He'll win that belt. He'll win that fucking belt, and they don't want that. I don't think they want that. I just don't think they do.
I think probably the worst matchup for him out of all of the guys that are at the top right now. Like, obviously anybody can get slept by Conor, but he takes Conor down and he taps him
quick.
After what we saw happen to Gaethje in his last fight, he takes him down and he taps him. I think the worst matchup for him is probably Poirier, but even then, like, he takes him down a bunch and probably taps him too.
Poirier likes getting taken down. I mean, there's really not a guy. I mean, I would have said Gaethje, but
not after the Khabib fight.
His whole thing was shattered after the Khabib fight. Like, it really was. And I'm not even saying like him getting taken down like that from me. I mean,
what happened when early? I think he has a shot just like Conor, where if he throws as much as he can, like he did against Khabib in that first, he might get him out of there. But if he doesn't, then he's fucked.
I just think what changes everything is how I saw him literally pick up Tony and slam him on his head a couple times. Like, the offensive wrestling is a problem for everybody. And that's a big dude. He's a big 155er, man. I think that gets looked over too. His length, like, he's a big fucking guy, man, at 155. That guy's a problem. I would pick him almost over anybody at 155 right now.
Give me dog money and I'm taking it for sure.
If he fought Khabib tomorrow and they gave me 2-1, I'm taking a small shot. I'm just going to take a small shot. Don't get me wrong. That's the one guy that probably can get on top and just do enough to pound him out of there in 3 or 4 rounds. But I know Do Bronx has a shot to catch even Khabib in something on the mat.
So I think they think that Gaethje and Chandler are going to be on that Poirier McGregor card, because they said they were still going to add one more big fight. I kind of look at that.
I heard it was Chandler and Hooker.
Oh, really? So Gaethje's. So if that's the case, then
about that to yesterday or something, maybe Hooker.
Yeah. So I don't know what the rumor is, but I think what Do Bronx is going to have to do is just kind of be a late notice guy. If any of those big names fall out, then he gets a matchup. If he doesn't, I guess he waits for Gaethje.
I mean, so
there's not really anybody, like, he's ranked 3rd now. So, like, there's nobody ahead of him to fight.
It's why I say it's like title or almost nothing for him at this point. But I'm still kind of convinced that I don't think the UFC wants that guy to be a champ. Not that they don't like him, not that he doesn't finish fights or isn't exciting. He's a Brazilian that can't speak English. There's just something about that doesn't.
He's trying, man. He was trying at the end, at that end of that interview. He was trying.
You almost have to, because it's all about selling to the UFC and most consumers of this sport. To be that guy, you have to sell yourself a little bit, and being the finishing and all that shit's good now. Like, everything's going towards his side. He needs that little.
He just got to get a matchup. He just got to get a matchup with somebody,
a big name he can take
ahead of him. That's all he's got to do. If he gets a fight with that, then he will be a big.
This
name,
was a
because
good
he's going to take those guys out.
This was a good step, because Tony is a name. Like, even on the outers of the the hardcore fans, Tony's a name in the sport. That was a great start.
Yeah, Tony and Gaethje did what, like 700K earlier this year? It did like a big number, so people know who that is. And Bronx ran.
The last pay-per-view of the card, pay-per-view of the year. We're going on a decent-sized break after the card this weekend. It might have done all right numbers. Like, I know, of course, Fig. Everybody thinks the 125ers can't sell, and from what we've seen, that's true. But maybe it did all right. Maybe people saw it.
I saw a little bit of more Do Bronx kind of chatter online, but not specifically like MMA sites. He got a little spot on Sports Center and shit like that. So
30-26 fucking
to do
Tony Ferguson, that's
30,
a pretty big deal,
24.
man.
30,
Yeah,
24.
could have been.
Let's talk about the rest of the cards. We'll do the main event and then drop down to the bottom. Man, it's tough to talk about this one because it was a phenomenal fight. But Deiveson Figueiredo won that fucking fight.
He absolutely won
did.
that fight. Absolutely.
Man, that commentary was fucking horrific in that fight.
Yeah, we've talked about them for a while, especially when Rogan and anybody gets together. Rogan sways them into being cheerleaders and having narratives. Him and DC is other level. That was as bad. So bad. That was as bad as they've been, though. They clearly were almost openly fucking cheering for Morono in that fight. It was so bad, dude. And
I don't know what he was seeing.
I don't either. It was.
I rewatched it. It was a somewhat easy fight to score, in my opinion. Figueiredo was throwing the way harder shots. Morono obviously was taking it, which, I mean, that's good on him.
For him.
He was still landing very, very hard. And, I mean, they were throwing... Figueiredo was matching or exceeding his strikes. So how the fuck do you give Morono any other round than the fourth round? Which, good on him. He won the fourth round. He was strong in that round, but... he did nothing in the fifth. Somehow got a scorecard. That is the worst one. That is the worst card.
And that cost him the fight because he would have got 2 scorecards.
Yeah.
That one judge.
It would have been a majority.
Yep, that was the worst part about it. I was gonna say that I didn't think the point deduction was right because it. I mean, I get it. Some are like, yeah, I mean, any groin strike like that should be a point immediately.
Making a statement in a fucking title fight,
right?
It's just
Herzog.
That's what I'm saying. But 1, it's so inconsistent. 2, it's a title fight. 3, it wasn't that bad. It was flush, but it
sounded bad, but he didn't even take 5
2
minutes. He only took 2 minutes.
And 2 minutes and was ready to go.
Back to 100% as soon as they started fighting again. So I don't know if it was just, I don't know. It seems
sometimes you just need to dry heave.
I mean, he was dry heaving. Was he just milking that for a point? I don't know what he was doing there.
Outside of that, we could take the point deduction completely out of it because
didn't matter.
The one ref that scored the 5th for Morono was as bad as anything in that fight. That was
the worst part.
Figueiredo should have won that fight. He did win that fight if you got that a competent fucking judge there. That was a great fight, but man, of course we had people that were like, "Oh, that's one of the greatest fights of all time."
The fifth round just fell off a cliff.
And then I said on last week's show, I'm not the biggest Figueiredo guy and shit, and this kind of changed me. That performance was the gritty. Morono gave him a great fight, and I thought he performed way over what I've ever expected out of Figueiredo. I thought he dug deep and dominated a really tough opponent. Apparently other people didn't see that. I saw some Morono fucking
that's wild.
Figueiredo wanted shit. I thought Figueiredo took it to another level, in my opinion. He looked great in those later rounds. That's been the narrative about him too, is that he gets tired, he starts gassing. I mean, he's a big guy for quote unquote big guy for that weight class. He looked great in the fifth
fresher
round.
Guy in the fifth.
He looked
Morono
great.
Was doing nothing.
Yeah, that was the fight. He went out and took that fight in the fifth, and that was a bad decision in my opinion. People are like, that ain't a robbery. You can't call it a robbery. It was a close. I was like, they're not necessarily robberies, but it's really bad to watch a fight that you think is clear. You can break down each round and clearly pick a winner. And even on a scorecard, you see a judge completely fucked up the fifth. That was easily a Figueiredo round. That might have been one of the clearest rounds.
Wild, man. Yep. I remember watching it live. I was like, "Oh, this is an easy Figueiredo round. Not much happened." But then he poured it on, and at the very end, and usually at the end, that kind of sways judges. So I don't get it, man. It's inexplainable given that scorecard.
They can run it back.
I didn't even get the draw bet in until after the fourth round because I was like, "Oh, Fig's blowing him out," and then
Morono. What number did you get?
650 after round 4.
That's a pretty good number.
It was all right.
My question for you, Wes. So before in last week's podcast, you said that you thought Perez had a better chance to win than Moreno. Do you still feel that way? Because I don't think he can.
Yes, I absolutely feel that way because we saw the absolute best out of Brandon Moreno against Figueiredo, who was in the hospital in 2 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Figueiredo still kicked the shit out of him.
That's another thing. Apparently, the guy was fucking sick and shit. Look, I'll say this. Like, of course, it's harder to say that now after watching that fight, watching Moreno do that. I still think personally that Perez is the way more talented, like all around guy over Moreno, in my opinion. We just didn't see enough of it. And
I just don't think he can take the hits that Moreno could. That's the only reason. Moreno's got the chin to stay in there and have a chance in hell. I think Perez gets there. I don't know if he can take that heat from Figueiredo.
Here's the other side of that coin is like Figueiredo, in my opinion, that fight wasn't like, it was a great fight. It wasn't exactly close. I thought Figueiredo clearly beat Brandon Moreno. And yeah, he's tough. He got beat up a lot in that fucking fight. I think Perez might be good enough to where he just got caught in the sub. I'm not sure Figueiredo bombs on him like he was Moreno, you know? It's a great fight. I want to see that. I want to see that fight again. I do want to see
that's what's going to happen, I think. I mean, Figueiredo will take a little bit of time off. They'll do the rematch. And then
props to Moreno, man. Like that.
Yeah, I mean, I did not believe he could take that.
I did not either. I didn't either. I didn't either.
Or the UFC re-signs John Lineker. Figueiredo Lineker. Boom.
And he just completely obliterates
Figueiredo. That'd be ridiculous, but of course it'll never happen because the UFC cuts, fun fighters.
Yes, speaking of which, we talked a little bit about it last week. Yoel cut. Now he's in Bellator.
I'm going to have to start watching Bellator. Fuck's sakes.
I'm going to have to. I made my little after the last Bellator card because that was brutal. They did like a 10 p.m. Thursday night start. And
the one before that was like fucking great, though.
It was amazing. That's why I watched this one. And then it went to like 1 a.m. with a shitty women's main event, and it was rough.
The Bellator and UFC are a lot similar than people want to say now. The UFC doesn't do that as often as Bellator do because they have the roster not to do that, but the UFC will give you a good event like we had last week, and then like you will get some shitty ones like
Cynthia Calvillo and Jessica I in the main event.
At 1:30 in the morning, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? You know what I'm saying? But Bellator's built that. They got some like their light heavyweight division is decent now. Like they got some really. I think McKee is one of the best young fighters in the entire sport. You know what I'm saying? Pitbull literally competes with the lighter weight guys in any promotion in the world. So they got guys. They've built their roster up, and then. I mean, you're adding two of the most fun, like Rumble and YOLO gets added to Bellator's roster. And like
we need a light heavyweight tournament, man, and not a big one. We just need the good ones, the good guys.
Yeah, we just need Yoel on one side and Rumble on the other side.
Yeah,
I mean, and like Bader, even at this point, isn't like horrible. He's a good like guy to measure. Nemkov that beat him, like Nemkov is good. You know what I'm saying? Like. They got a couple good divisions and some really good young stars. Like I'll say it again, McKee is great. I know we say like we wish we'd see guys in the UFC and stuff just to measure them. Like I don't think it's like that big of a gap anymore between the promotions. But I would really like to see McKee in the UFC and compete against the best in the world because I think he's the truth. I really do.
Yep. Yeah. The Bellator has. Two of, at worst, the top 10 featherweights in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
At worst. And they've got some other good guys, too. So I'll be tuning in, pending matchups when it comes to Bellator. And honestly, I probably should be doing the same when it comes to UFC, but it's on Saturdays. And COVID. I've got nothing to do with my fucking life right
You
now.
got two.
So.
You got two screens. Come on.
Let's not go with all this talk. I'm seeing like YOLO and Rumble out the gate. Like fuck that. I want to see YOLO and Rumble go over there and mash some trash cans like they let everybody else do. That's good fun. Like we don't need like shit fights of guys laying on each other. Let YOLO go smash a couple cans. This guy's fought like 5 rounders, I think, every fight for like the last 5 years. He's fighting like the best guy every single time out. Gets cut for it. Let him go mash a couple fucking garbage men. Like
I know you said Wes earlier that you don't do a big tournament, but that's why you expand it to 16 people so that YOLO and Rumble can get some absolute Japanese cans in the first 2 rounds of the tournament and just crush them.
Yeah,
that's
the Scott Coker special.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to fire through the rest of this real quick. Starting off. I don't know where fights are anymore. The Facebook prelims or whatever. We got Chase Hooper doing absolutely nothing while he gets his shit pushed in for 12 minutes. And then Imanari rolls himself into a heel hook. He grappled with the dude for 12 seconds and got a stoppage. And somehow I lost an under 2.5 bet on this fight because I'm an idiot.
I mean, me and Sean lost like some plus 250s
plus
on this
320 on old on Barrett or whatever the hell his name is.
What's so bad is he did it twice. Like he literally rolled from completely across the cage twice and caught that motherfucker. And the second time he's just so fucking tired. He's like, I can't get out.
He was up so 2 rounds to none on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards. He just had to survive, and we would have cashed a nice underdog. And then
you glossed over it. But he was only up on 2 of the 3 scorecards. What the fuck are we doing here?
That's the thing. We get lucky, man. There's a lot of times where it doesn't end up mattering, but there's some fucked up scorecards out there.
Yep, that's bad. I kind of liked the kid coming out of the Caceres fight because he never stopped trying to grapple in that fight, even though he was getting ass kicked, and he never even started trying to grapple in this fight. Like,
smart.
His coaches need to be shot out of a cannon.
Yep.
Tisha Torres got a stoppage because the chick she was fighting didn't want to fight.
Shout out to our boy OBC, but man, that was brutal. Them laying a bad line and being able to get some of it.
Under 1.5, even.
God, that was
over 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah, that's especially when like it came back out 2.5 was like minus 350 and shit. Like,
yeah, that's when you hedge a bit.
Yeah.
What can you do
now that a bunch of the books do like totals for every round? I looked at what the over 1.5 was after they readjusted. Minus 500. So you could have gotten some great.
That's some CLV, baby.
That's some ARB right there.
Man.
Right. Next up, impressive performance from a Canadian. Which feels wrong to say, but
they're already losing their minds.
Gavin Tucker, pound for pound number 2 in Canada after that performance.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not hard to shoot up the rankings that quickly. He looked good, man. Like I know Billy. Like we're pretty high on Billy Q. I was. I guess usually like he has taken some shit, but usually his pace just wears people out. And Tucker was just teeing off on him and wasn't gassing, which was a bit surprising. He's still Canadian. We'll still have to fade him.
I think a lot with Billy Q too is pressure not just like gets guys tired. It takes them out of their striking game and shit a little bit. Tucker looked like he thrived in it. Like it made him fight. And fuck, man, he looked really, really good. That was an impressive performance. That was so impressive. Canadians are going to get absolutely fucking just fucked here real soon by Gavin Tucker. You can fucking believe it. He's going to get KO'd or choked out, and they're going to be like,
what was he against Rick Glenn? What was the line in that one?
He was a big favorite, wasn't he?
Yeah, he opened minus 155 against Rick Glenn. And he closed between like 350 and 400.
Jesus Christ. And then got 30-26 or 30-25.
30-24, I think, something like that.
I still
By the
like.
way, this looked good. It doesn't really change my opinion of Billy Q because he did what he always does. It's just the guy that was across from him didn't fall apart.
Yeah, it'll still work against some guys. It's just
He needs to.
that guy didn't.
Yeah, he needs to refine himself just a little bit though. Like just the all out brawling and stuff at this level is gonna not. You're gonna get into guys that are. It's not gonna. You know,
He's got to get hit a little bit less.
Yeah, get hit a little less. I mean, just tighten a couple things up. But you know that pressure is always gonna be a problem for certain dudes.
Yep. Lightweight division, we got this one wrong. The fizzy pop, he put some pop rocks in there and exploded all up in Moicano's face. Yeah, I don't know.
Moicano was his hubris was a little much on Saturday. He's landed some good shit.
Looked good early.
You got when you have a grappling advantage against a guy that dangerous on the feet, you gotta take it, and he didn't, and he got slick knocked out.
Yeah, you see guys like fall in love with their striking over a period of fights. Sometimes it feels like Moicano, he did it in like minutes. He was like, shit, I'm working this dude. My hand, and he looked good. Like he was tagging Fizzy Pop. His shit wasn't close. Like he was piecing him up.
He's doing all right.
And you still you play with fire, man. The guy hits hard. Look, I like him. I liked him coming in that fight. I thought it was a tough fight for Moicano, but man, he's already crowned. He's already crowned. That's the next fucking champ. Guys crown dudes off big knockouts like that. I still got to see some more, man. Like he was getting pieced up by Moicano early in that fight.
Honestly, I'm going to talk about this a couple times in this podcast, just because of the matchups that we've got in this next card. But I think if that fight happens in a bigger cage, it's probably a little bit different because I think Moicano does a bit better if he doesn't have to engage quite so much.
Yeah, when he can do what he did against Jeremy Stevens, that's a lot safer game plan and a lot less chance of getting crushed like that. So yeah, it could be, but unfortunately it's COVID, so you're in a tiny cage.
Moving on,
unless you're on Fight Island.
Yeah. And now moving on, we'll see what kind of line we get when Fizzy Pop faces a wrestler.
Yep.
Next up, we got a featherweight division matchup between Cub Swanson and Daniel Pineda. And man, old Cubby, he looked all right in this one. A little bit of a rough spot with the legs early on, but he's still got some hands.
I did not expect him to get a finish there. I kind of thought his win was the way he was going to win was going to be by decision, just kind of overcoming and just throwing enough volume. Man, that was a nice knockout. I was really wrong on Pineda. I had him inside the distance a couple different ways, and yeah, I mean he is what he is, I guess. You know, he's a flawed fighter, but he's got some decent pressure early on and can get some fun exchanges going on.
Yeah, I didn't expect a knockout from Cub like that, but even knowing, you know, Pineda fades a little in fights, I never expected him to fade that hard. He looked like he was gone. Like after a round, he was completely gone. Like Cub could do whatever he wanted on the feet at that point. It was really bad. I don't know if I've seen Daniel Pineda fade like that in a fight before. I know he does get tired later in fights because he does so much and goes through so much shit. But props to Cub, man. That was a great knockout. I lost a little money on Pineda, but it was good to see Cub get a win.
Yep, it's hard to feel bad when the guy getting the win out of the situation is Cub Swanson. So
yep,
can't really be too upset about that one. On the other hand, man, it's rough.
It's over.
Yeah,
sad time for old Brazilians.
it's over in multiple ways on this one,
Yeah.
Wes, because the over hit by like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Just cruising.
JDS
Just cruising.
Ooh, it's over.
Yeah, that was a good FGF, even though they're not necessarily fatty. Yeah, I had a pretty big bet on our boy Gone by TKO. Man, please, we gotta stop this shit. These next 2 fights, man. I don't know what these guys do in life, maybe coach or something, but it just people's got to step in, man. Like JDS is just he's not even getting his hands off much anymore. You know, he's just in there getting demolished. When it happens, man. When that chin goes, it's especially
as a heavyweight.
As a heavyweight and as a guy like JDS, you're never gonna get to fight the Christian Warcrafts or something.
Yeah, he's not getting cupcakes.
No,
he's getting fed to fucking good fighters.
Yep, you're never gonna get that fucking. And he probably could go smash some cans. You know, it's not gonna happen in the UFC or JDS. I don't know what he does, man, but I don't know. I guess we'll see some more of our boy Gone.
He look good, man.
Yeah, it's another
good for a heavyweight. That's for sure.
Another good heavyweight. We need some younger ones. We need some good young heavyweights in there, and yeah, we'll see.
He's the closest thing we got.
Yeah, that's the closest thing we can do a prospect of heavyweight.
Another rough one here. Jacare. I thought he was going to remind everybody why Kevin Holland is Kevin Holland. And he puts himself in bad spots and he lets himself get taken down. That's exactly what happened. So I was thrilled. And then fucking arm from across the cage comes out and clips him. It was rough.
I mean, when you bet Jacare, I think like most of us on this podcast, you got what you wanted.
Exactly. Yeah,
he went straight for a takedown, got it easy, but then was just way too casual on the ground. Holland throws weird, dumb shit, and sometimes it lands. And that was just a crazy knockout. Unfortunately, Jacare needs to go do jiu-jitsu at submission underground or whatever. But the fight game is no moss for him.
Yeah. That was so bad because we got everything we could have hoped for at the beginning of that fight, and I was feeling really good, and then I was like screaming, like Jacare's usually like he does what he knows well usually. Man, him just kind of playing around above Holland and just not diving down on him, and like I was just screaming like, what are you doing, man? Yeah, great knockout though. I mean, that props to Holland. That was some fucking wild shit. It was awesome to watch. Even I've lost a fucking another bunch of it. It's a bad card for me, but man, like props to Holland. But look, people are pumping him up, man. He is not like some great fighter or anything. Like he's exciting and shit, but man, we just watched it. We watched his flaw play out right there. I mean, he got taken down like easily. That guy's wrestling is not good. Most of these guys that are going to fight him know exactly what to do, man. We'll see. Gas tank problems. I mean, we saw him in the third round against multiple guys here recently, losing third rounds and shit. So, yeah, I mean, props. He's playing up his good knockout. I hope he makes fucking as much as he can make, but you're going to give me another crazy price against Holland again, and I'm going to be taking it.
Holland had a great 2020, but he is still very much a developing fighter at this point. There's holes to fill. I mean, he did go to a split decision with Darren Stewart a few months ago.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of holes to fill, Mackenzie Dern has a new one on her nose. Oh, you thought it was going.
Neal.
Yeah, that was 2 jiu-jitsu girls in a 15-minute kickboxing match. And like it was as fun as it could be for the situation.
Yeah.
the way it unfolded, but I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I had Jandiroba by decision. I thought if she could have tried wrestling earlier, she might have been able to get 2 rounds. Mackenzie Dern's still terrible, but yeah, not much more to say about that.
Yeah, nah, who cares?
It was terrible. It was exactly what you said, Brad. It was a shitty stand-up fight between jiu-jitsu.
There was a little bit of blood to make it exciting, but it wasn't good.
Nope.
Yeah, and then Do Bronx, obviously, just doing the damn thing. That's what I will remember.
Thanks, Lance, for sacrificing your health.
We appreciate
for the greater good.
All right, moving on to this week's UFC on ESPN Plus 184.
Oh shit! Well, we can skip a fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We get to
I
skip
saw
one
that.
right off the bat.
I was ready. I'm glad. Although I have to say I'm a little upset because I had a great, Carlton minus, C minus. This guy looks more like an F minus.
Oh. Had to give it to him anyway, Brad. You're not going to keep a joke in on like
No,
that.
I can't hold off on a gem like that. But yeah, final card of the year, and they threw as much shit at the wall as they could here, and let's see what sticks, because I'm sure we'll have a few more cancellations before the end of the week. But I think now we're starting it off in the flyweight division, a fight that we've already broken down. Jimmy Flick against, I worked out all the rhyme words, and I think Jimmy Flick is the Slick Hick. That's the new nickname for him. Right?
It's better than what his is.
Better than the Brick, that's for sure. And he is taking on the pink eye pupil of one BFP, Cody Durden. Sean, you want to start with this one?
Don't have much here. Pretty pissed off that fight got canceled because I had doesn't go to decision at minus 160. Of course, that got bet up, and then it opens at minus 265 this time. So I think Flick is good. I think Durden is shitty, literally and figuratively, and I expect Flick to win, but I'm salty that I'm not getting the awesome price on the finish. So I'll just pick Flick. I'm not gonna bet him though.
Wes?
Yeah, they're not a lot changed for me either. I still like Flick in this fight. I did like fight doesn't go decision a lot too last time, and that's just that line movement is kind of crazy. I think nothing really changes for me. I think this is gonna be a wild, scrambly fight, and I like Flick a whole lot more on the mat, and I think he catches Durden with something. So I'm probably gonna look at Flick by like sub or something like that. I think that's some plus money right now. But yeah, I like Flick in this fight.
Yeah, Flick by sub it's only plus 135. So not great. I think I'd probably just stick with money line on something like that. But yeah, I like Flick as well. I think there's a lot of people worried about his cardio in this one. But Durden, I think this is, now it's his second time cutting down to 125. But he said it was his first time cutting down to 125 when it was scheduled a couple weeks ago. And now he's doing it second time in 2-3 weeks, something like that. So, and I think the concerns about Flick's cardio are kind of overplayed. He looked really good in that Contender Series fight, and he was constantly going for submissions. So I think Flick turns this into a grappling match and eventually finds a sub. I'm not really sure when, not super confident in it, but I do think Jimmy Flick wins in this one. Next up, we are moving to the middleweight division, and we have the musically inspired match of the night. We've got the Teflon Don Rick Ross taking on Wilson Pickett. Wesley, what you got here? Is he gonna slow down Mustang Sally in this one, or what's happening?
Oh man, I don't even know where to go after that. I don't have too much on this fight, man. These are a couple guys that crushed a couple cans on the Contender Series, and I'm not sure what to expect when they got to fight each other. You probably should see a finish here, but it just feels like one of those fights to where they're finishing some bad fighters, and then when they fight each other, they kind of are tentative against each other's power. So I might throw a little something on the over 1.5 here if I'm just kind of feeling degenerate early on the fights. I'm gonna probably pick though Teflon Don for the win, but if I play anything, it'll probably just be a very small sprinkle on the over 1.5.
There you go, Sean.
Man, I really want to fade this Cameroon guy.
The 45-year-old who tries to claim he's 25.
Yeah.
This fight's at middleweight, supposedly. And
First time cutting down.
He's the Cameroon guy. How do you say this last name, Brad?
Nchukwi.
He's fought at like 225 before. He's fought at light heavy. I don't know how this weight cut's gonna go. I think that might take a bit out of him. It might not matter just because he might just flatline this guy really early. He did beat Thick Willie, so that is very, very impressive. But yeah, I don't know. Pickett's obviously the more veteran guy, but man, that's a big number on a fairly unproven guy. So I'll pick Pickett and Toutmaster, try to grab some points, but haven't decided on sprinkling a bit on him. Maybe I will because I'm bored and it's the last card of the year.
You can either refer to him in the future as the Teflon Don or as Nunchucks. We can go with Nunchucks too.
Oh, but we already had Kenny Nunchucks.
We need a new pair of nunchucks. So
that's right.
I think he got cut. So
these nunchucks are made out of Teflon, so
yeah,
they're much better than those old.
Kenny's like the padded ones you practice with. You know,
that's right. That's what the Diaz brothers have. I don't have much to say here. Like the fact that he just came down to 205 for the first time on Contender Series, and now he's coming down to 185 for the first time on this. Kind of makes me worried about him gassing a little bit, but maybe he's just doing the Jared Cannonier thing, but doing it at the start of his career when he should have, instead of once he's like 35 years old. So I don't really know. I think he probably gets a win, but I don't hate that over 1.5. Pickett's never been finished by strikes, and he's pretty experienced, but there's also a reason that it took him 3 shots on the Contender Series to actually win a fight and get into the UFC, because probably not that good. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Same for the next one. I will get out of the way at the start here because we have the lesser Zahabi taking on a Harry Potter character, Draco. Isn't that it's the little blonde rat-faced fucker, right? Yeah. Honestly, it seems like this Draco guy is a grappler, and not even like a good wrestler while doing it, but just sort of looks for the submission. I kind of feel like Zahabi is technical enough to maybe stop that from happening, but man, I do not have a good read on this fight at all. Sean?
I don't have much on this either. Zahabi's been a somewhat let down coming into the UFC. I don't know how hyped he was before it. He doesn't fight very often. He's Canadian. There's a lot of things going against him. So I'll pick Draco Malfoy, and but if Canada wins, I guess that's a good thing because we need some W's.
We'd like to see him move up to number 3 pound for pound.
Yes, sir.
Wes, what do you got?
Yeah, I kind of feel a lot how Brad feels here, that this guy's a grappler, but he's one of those grapplers that doesn't have like the great offensive wrestling. And last time he fought a dude that kept it on the feet, he got knocked the fuck out. I don't know if I can play the lesser Zahabi here. If it was maybe something more 2-1 or something like that, but yeah, he really should keep this on the feet and just kind of outstriking. I'm gonna pick Zahabi, but man, I'd like to see a little better number. I'd probably play him.
Yeah, what are we looking at for props in that one? Because that might be the only thing that I'm looking at. Over 2.5 is minus 225.
Yeah.
Don't love
Zahabi
that.
by decision is plus 320.
Yeah, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. That could work. All right, speaking of something that can work, in our next fight, we got a fat little man who needs to get on the treadmill and do some work.
Holy shit.
There is no way that Winn should be fighting at 195 pounds.
No.
This man is fighting at Franklin weight. And
could you imagine?
He's 5'6" on a good day.
On a good fucking day. I'd say him and Brad are probably, they'd look at
That's right. If I ever met him in person, I could hide behind this man because same height, but he's, even in my worst days, this man is much thicker than I am, and not in the good sense.
Cutting to 195.
He's facing a guy who's like an actual big middleweight. Man, Wes, is this gonna go well for little Chubby?
I don't think so. This fat little man just got me dying over. That's about the perfect way to describe Darian Winn at this point. At 195, like, come on, man. Like, I think us on this show was talking about him way back when they were hyping him a few years ago. And man, I just kept saying he's going to run into guys that he's probably better than. He's just going to be way too small, way too fucking small. He's just going to get bodied. I mean, it's cliche, but there's weight classes for a reason. There's no way a 5'6" guy, 5'5", whatever he is, should be fighting up here. I mean, I don't think Arroyo is like some great fighter or anything, but he's consistent, man. And you know what you're going to get out of him. I think he's going to fuck Darian Winn up. And it sucks because, I thought we were going to get a lot of fucking harvesting on the Darian Winn fade plant. And it was like a small bounty. It was like one season of growing because everybody figured it out quick. The guy's just, he's decent, but that size is just a problem, a really bad problem for dudes that he can't wrestle. So yeah, I'm laying it here. I like Arroyo quite a bit. Probably one of my more confident spots on the card.
So you thought because Darian Winn was stubby that he was going to be like a cactus. You just need to water him once, and you could harvest that forever. Yeah, but he's more like a tulip. He's an annual. You need to get in there every year and just keep feeding him.
You gotta keep working it. Yeah.
Sean, what do you got on this one?
Like Wes said, Arroyo is not great. He has he's gonna have a 9-inch height advantage, and that's if Darian Winn is 5'6". Surprisingly, he only has a 3-inch reach advantage. Darian Winn must have some long arms or something, but yeah, I mean, Winn can get some takedowns early. I don't see him finishing Arroyo. He doesn't seem to be that kind of a fighter. I know he had a bunch of knockouts kind of before the UFC, but yeah, look who he was fighting. So I think Arroyo can stay in there, and Darian Winn just gasses, man. Especially when people are forcing him to wrestle, and he's not getting it easily, and just a lot of stuff going on in the fight. It's insane, man. He's fucking 5'6", and he's just carrying so much weight. I guess that's why he gasses. I don't know, but I expect Arroyo to kind of take over. He might even get him earlier in that before he gets some takedowns. I think Arroyo finishes. I haven't played him yet. Looking at some options, whether to take him inside the distance or just lay it, but I think he wins. Darian Winn is just not good at fighting.
Yeah, we got pretty much the perfect summation of Duran's training. Is that he in the chat from Matt here? he said that he's basically Daniel Cormier's mini-me. And that's all he is. He shrinks them down to 1/6 of the size, and that's Darren Winn.
And takes like 80% of the talent away.
Yeah, that too. Minor detail. But yeah, I think he will probably get a takedown or two early because, he's strong. He can get inside. He can take a couple shots to get inside, but he can only do that for a few minutes. I think that after that, Arroyo is just going to literally kick the shit out of him. Maybe not the shit coming out of him, but he's going to kick him a lot. And I don't think that's going to go well for Winn. I kind of think that there's going to be some gassing and maybe like a third round finish for Arroyo once he gets on top of Winn, and Winn doesn't really want to fight out of it because he's got some decent finishes with his subs from the top. So I could see like an arm triangle or something like that happen late in this fight. And I too am just going to be laying it on Arroyo. I like him here. Is this one our consensus, or is it the other one we talked about?
This is the one, I believe.
This is the one. We're laying it.
Lance isn't here.
yeah, Lance isn't here to stop us. So minus 155 on Antonio Arroyo. I love the line. Sean loves the line. Wes loves the line. We're just going to take it. So that is going to be the MMA analysis consensus bet of the week. Antonio Arroyo. Yeah, apparently Cormier commented about how the hell do we get the guy down to 170 when he misses. So what do you do when he can't make 185? You make him fight one of the biggest dudes at 185 to punish him. I love it. Cormier's a sadistic bastard. A fight that is actually at 185, and another guy that might struggle to make it because he's short, not so much fat as just like bricked up beyond all belief, is Carl Roberson. I think he's going to be okay, but the fifth member of the Black Eyed Peas, Lung I Am, the name just it didn't quite work with the rest of the group, so he got kicked out. Yeah, this should be fun for however long it lasts. Sean?
Yeah, Lung Ambulance is just not good. When you're taking Daquan Townsend into the third round before you can finish him, it's not the greatest sign. Roberson's fought the much better people. He's done well in some of those fights that he's even lost. He did all right against Glover until no. Did he get wiped out by Glover, or did he catch Glover early like everyone does against Glover? I thought he got caught, or he caught Glover a bit.
Yeah, he got Glover. Yeah, that was one.
He got Glovered, but that happens. I think he's just the more fighter in this matchup. I'm not. I don't think much of the Lung Ambulance. He beats the guys up in the old EFC. He gets a pumped up record and then fights actual real guys, and then he's gonna lose.
Wes?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Sean said. I just think Roberson's just got real problems with guys that can easily take him down, and that's just not what's going to happen here. He's going to be the longer guy. I think he's going to win here. I want to lay juice with Robertson here against the Lung Ambulance. Nah, because that guy does have a third leg, and I wouldn't be shocked if he landed something. But yeah, Robertson should have a fair. I think he's going to have a clear win here, but I don't trust him enough to lay like minus 255 on him here. But he'll be the pick.
I have zero recollection of either of Lung Ambulance's fights in the UFC. I know that there's been two of them because I'm looking at them right now, but no recollection. And I have made a habit out of fading guys that come out of EFC. He comes out of EFC. I'm probably going to end up parlaying Roberson.
I do.
Just for that fact alone. I don't think this needs a lot. Something else that doesn't need a lot. Women's bantamweight division. We got Penny Kianzad taken on Sijara Eubanks. she likes to grapple, so I'll give her the Brazilian pronunciation with the J, the hard J. What do you got here? I'm gonna get a beer.
Wes, what you got?
Yeah, not much, man. I think this is probably gonna look like a lot of Eubanks fights. She's just probably gonna wrestle on body Penny here, and then you'll be holding on for dear life in the third when she starts gassing. I don't think Penny's got the strength or anything to do much to Eubanks. I'm probably not betting on here. If it was anything, Eubanks by decision is slight plus money. That'd be the only thing I would look at.
I don't have pretty much anything on this. I didn't want to touch the over or goes a decision. I just don't want to have anything to do with this fight. Like Wes said, Eubanks can look good early and then she gasses and then you're fucking terrified that she's going to get somehow finished or 10-8'd in the third. I'll pick Eubanks, but yeah, like I said, no reason to have money on this fight.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't take long getting the beer because I didn't think you guys would have a whole lot to say. It's going to go to decision. That's going to be a thing that happens. If you want to pick a side on this, you're probably braver than I because I don't have an opinion. Finally, on the prelims, there was a lot of prelims. But
yeah, we'll see how many actions happen.
Very true. Earlier, I set the over-under at 2.5, and I set a good line because the votes were basically split down the middle. So we'll see how many more fights drop off. But it's 2.5 right now after Bilal and her boy Ricky Glenn, runs away, tries to duck F-. But the prelim headliner, man, it's kind of sad to see Anthony Pettis in this spot. 2020 headlining the prelims on an ESPN Plus card against Alex Morono, who's like, he's fine, but yeah, man, that's a fall from Pettis.
Pettis just beat Cerrone. He goes from beating Cerrone, which I mean we know what Cerrone is at this point, but he's still a name. And what do you get for that? You get to be the main event on the prelims against Alex Morono. I don't know if Pettis was just looking for a fight, looking for another paycheck before the end of the year. That could be it. Man, he's looked rough. Supposedly he's sober now. That's his big thing this fight week. He's talking about no weed, man, and no booze, no nothing.
That's the best PED you can have is weed.
Right.
What are you talking about?
I know, man. This
More guys get suspended for the weed than any other PED because it is the ultimate.
Yep, we know. We know. So yeah, man, Morono throws volume. That chin is a bit rough. We've seen Pettis knock out some decent guys with his power, so Morono could get caught, but I don't know. With Morono's volume, Pettis could get tired. He could get laid on the fence. He could even get taken down. His takedown defense is still horrific. This fight is gonna get dirty if Pettis doesn't, just absolutely clean him out really early. So I'm leaning towards Alex Morono. I haven't bet him yet. I was looking at him by decision. Pettis is still really durable. Morono by decisions, like plus, what the hell was it? Plus like 350? I think that's worth the sprinkle. I think we're just getting a little bit better line because it is Pettis. Like he's looking pretty rough at this point in his career. Maybe the rehab, or not rehab, but going sober will be a revelation for him, but I don't think so.
It might also be a revelation.
Revelation, not relevation.
Wes, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning a lot of the same way Sean is here. Yeah, does all that really matter at this point? Like stopping whatever and taking all those blows to the dome back, yeah, Pettis is on the bad end of his career, man. And look, I don't think much of Morono, but a lot of times it's about points of career and the matchups that you're getting. And Sean's right. I mean, if Pettis just can't get Morono out of there pretty quick, we've watched what he's done in fights against kind of younger guys outside of old dudes like Cerrone. It's going to gas too. This fight's going to get dirty, I think, and I think Morono gets some takedowns here. Sean mentioned it, like Pettis' takedown defense has never been the best when guys have actually tried to take him down. We've seen Morono take guys down and lay on top of him, and he works. I think he could bust Pettis up. Is there always that chance that Pettis does catch this guy? Look, Pettis ain't hitting like fucking chaos. Like, he can get that the fuck out of there. Like, I don't think Morono's chin is like otherworldly or anything, but Pettis ain't hitting like that anymore. If he ever did. So yeah, there's that chance though. Like Pettis is, probably still maybe the better fighter. Definitely was when he was at his best, but yeah, there's still about a 2-1. I think it's plus 195 at Bet Online. Like, I'd probably just take him straight, man. But that decision's pretty good. Pettis still is durable, but yeah, Morono at a 2-1 dog here against an aging Pettis. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm probably gonna lay it.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for Pettis. Obviously, you got the win over Cerrone, and got the win over Thompson. But how good did he really look in that fight? And other than that, anybody that's pressured him, Diaz pressured him. That worked out well for him. Pereira, who I think Morono and Pereira are in the same gym down in Texas, aren't they?
They're both at Fortis?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, he pressured up with grappling, and that worked out pretty well for him too. So I just think if Morono is willing to come forward and eat a couple shots, that this fight's probably going to work out for him, because I don't necessarily think that Pettis has the power to get rid of him. And Morono, he's been hit in a lot of his fights, and he'll get hit and he'll get marked up, but not a lot of dudes can really put him away. It's taken quite a lot to get him out of there in that fight. And it's a lot easier to get Anthony Pettis to stop fighting than it is to get Alex Morono knocked out. So I kind of think that he's going to come forward, and whether it's just throwing a lot of volume or getting into the clinch and trying to go for takedowns and that sort of stuff, I just think that Morono's going to wear on him. So I don't think he's going to get Pettis out of there, because Pettis is the way more talented fighter in this fight. There's no question about that. I just think he's not a welterweight. Like, we've seen for years, this is just the guy we talked about, Jose Aldo, who is now down at bantamweight, coming up from featherweight to fight, and people weren't worried about size in that fight. So Pettis is a relatively small lightweight by today's standards. Absolutely not a welterweight, and I think that's kind of going to be in play here. So I've got Morono as well. I'll take that decision prop at plus 350. And if we were going to do another consensus bet, I think it was going to be Morono for half a unit, because we already had one earlier. So we'll say it's unofficially official.
If it wins, we'll talk about it. If it doesn't, we won't.
Absolutely.
Well,
we never shy away from talking about how much we suck at doing this sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah.
First fight on the main card, heavyweight division, back in my territory. We got Marcin Tybura taking on Greg Hardy. Everybody likes to hate Greg Hardy. We like to off Greg Hardy. Sean?
I like Hardy here. I've lost a bit of money on Tybura lately, just because he's not very good. I know he's beat some guys, but I still don't think he's that good. Greg Hardy's shown some good stuff in his fights. He's got a pretty good striking defense. I thought he looked okay with his gas tank when he fought Volkov. Even though he was getting hit, he still threw a decent amount in the third round. I think he can can catch Tybura early or even wear him out and win a decision. Greg Hardy's decent, and I know this is kind of a step up for him, and the last big step up, he lost to Volkov, but I didn't think he looked that bad in that fight. Volkov's just a decent heavyweight, so I like Greg Hardy. I got him at -111. I took it for 2 units.
There you go. What was I going to say? There was something I was going to say. I think it was about how Maurice Green probably sucks. But I can't remember now, so we'll pass it on to Wes.
Turns out smoking cigarettes and crocheting is not the greatest thing way to train for a fight.
Yeah, I kind of lean a lot where Sean is again here. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep winning money on Hardy. Like we'll keep like people will they'll break down the fights and they'll make reasons why Hardy shouldn't win and this and that, and he wins most of his fight. Like Volkov was a massive step up. Volkov is good. Like that is a really good heavyweight in today's standards. And he lost that fight, but like Sean said, he was in there in the third round. He was still throwing stuff. Tybura gets in these fights now to where he gets his shit pieced up. Guys get gas beating his head in, and then he bodies the shit out of him. Like, and he's good at it. It ain't happening to Greg Hardy. Like, come on, man. Like, say what you will about his skills. He's still 265-pound fucking freak of an athlete, man. I think he wrecks Tybura here. And like Sean said, even if he doesn't get him out of there, I don't see him gassing hard. Like Tybura doesn't throw a bunch of shit. His game plan is usually, like I said, he loses in striking exchanges. Guys get tired, and then he goes to work. He gets them against the fence, and he does win fights. You know, he uses that strategy, and it works for him, and he wins fights. This ain't Ben Rothwell and shit, man. Like Hardy at this price, I'm gonna keep winning money on Greg Hardy. Watch, it's gonna happen again. I took him.
I've been pretty conflicted on this fight, kind of ever since I first learned about it and started thinking about it, because I don't think there's much question that Tybura has more skills than Greg Hardy. But at heavyweight, like 80% of being a heavyweight and a good heavyweight is how athletic you are. And Greg Hardy has that in spades in this fight. So like I could see a scenario where Hardy comes out and tries to throw a bunch of big shit early and doesn't get Tybura out of there and ends up losing a decision late, just based on Tybura kind of doing what he did to Rothwell. But at the same time, it's not Ben Rothwell hitting him with those shots. It's Greg Hardy. So I have to kind of lean towards Hardy getting the win here. Like I said, not confident in it at all. I can see it going both scenarios where he gets that first round knockout. I think that was like 300 in some places. I think 365 had it at plus 300 or plus 333 or something like that. Or I could see him getting a decision. But man, I do lean to Hardy no matter which way it goes. It's just not super confident. I could see him struggling a little bit down the stretch. And
Tybura doing Tybura things that he's done to a lot of guys.
I mean, there's two guys that Greg Hardy has fought in the UFC. There's absolute bottom of the barrel guy, and then there's Alexander Volkov. And Tybura is firmly in the middle of those two things. Yeah. So this is kind of the perfect measuring stick for Hardy at this point.
It is. Yep, it's perfect.
I think he passes it. But am I confident enough to bet it? I don't know. Depends how many beers I have by this point on Saturday night.
You'll find something.
Yep.
That's right. All right. Women's flyweight division. We can keep this one pretty quick. I actually like Jillian Robertson in this fight. I think she probably finds a sub at some point because she just doesn't stop grappling. And Tyler Santos sucked against the person that tried to grapple with her so far in the UFC. So that's probably a pretty good sign for Robertson. I took a little bit of the round 2 prop at 1,000. Sean?
Yeah, I don't have too much here, but like you said, Santos got out grappled by Barella, and Barella is 1-5 in her last 6 fights or some shit like that. Like, not a good look. Robertson, like you said, she's gonna force grappling, whether she's going for takedowns or she's gonna make Santos go for takedowns. It's gonna be grappling. So, in that kind of fight, I'll give Robertson the edge, but I don't want to bet it. She's Canadian. I'm cursed betting Canadians.
Does it count when she's like a Florida
She's
Canadian?
From Florida? Yeah, I don't know.
Y'all got
we don't really
got
call her
multiples of fake Florida Canadian shit, right?
Yeah,
like,
we just
they're like
just
isn't there like two of them? There's like another one, right?
the other one.
The other one that got beat by Nunes.
Oh,
I guess
yeah. That's right.
I guess these Canadian women don't like lumberjacks or something, so they all leave the country.
Go down to the Gator country.
Yeah. Good luck.
Driving through the glades. Not a lot going on.
Wes, you got anything here?
Nah, I don't have much here at all. Just a total pass for me.
Yeah.
There you go. Not even a total. Jeez. All right, now it gets good. The rest of the card, very, very entertaining. Bantamweight division. We've got the man for whom which the nickname Magic was very appropriate for a good portion of his UFC run. Marlon Moraes taking on Rob Font, who I'll never forgive for just running away from Johnny fucking Lineker and making like the only boring John Lineker fight ever. So with that in mind, Sean, what you got?
Lineker still roasted those ribs. He did as much as he could, but yes, it made it the most boring John Lineker fight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. These Brazilians, they're either very, very good or they're kind of over the hill. It seems that way right now. But Moraes, he's taken some beatings recently. I know that this is a good stylistic matchup for him. Font is going to be there to be hit. Moraes has big power, so he could take him out. I just worry if Font doesn't go out, this might turn into a volume affair, and I don't like Moraes' chances with that. Maybe I think too much of Font, but I'm just staying away from this fight. I'll pick Moraes to get Font out of there, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Font sticks around and makes it a close fight.
Wes?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good stylistic matchup for Moraes, and he does kind of need that at this point. I think he does have his some limitations. Mainly, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like he didn't like hit the wall back in like World Series of Fighting and shit like that. Like it seemed, I don't know, man. At some point, his gas tank did just go away. I do think Font comes forward though. We know how he fights, man. It's just gonna be fireworks, man. I think Moraes does catch him and gets him out of there. Am I like really, really confident in that happening? Like, no. I mean, I lean that. I'm betting Moraes here. I do think he gets it. It's the best. Sandhagen was a decent matchup too, I thought, but Sandhagen's very, very good. We always thought that, but that was just a crazy good performance. I don't think Font's that good. So yeah, I do think Moraes is going to catch him with some air. If he doesn't, like if this does go long, it might not be good, man. But that's what you're getting with Moraes at this point. So yeah, I'm gonna. It's gonna be a small bet. It's not one of my most confident, but I'm taking Moraes here.
Yeah, I like Moraes here as well, but I've sort of become less confident in it as I've heard people talk about the fight because he's obviously got the advantage. He's got the chance to land something early, or maybe make it a little bit like the Munoz fight where he's just sort of on Font so much that he forces him to shoot a bad takedown. And Moraes is much better on the ground between these two guys. So I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw him wrestle, but wrestling wouldn't be terrible for him in this one. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I just kind of think that no matter what Moraes throws in the first round, if he lands anything, it's going to have a big impact on Font for the rest of the fight. Font is one of those guys that I alluded to in the Lineker fight. Once he gets hit with some big stuff, he can kind of shut down. Normally he's this volume guy, so I get that sort of volume win round 2, round 3, take a decision. But after he gets hit a bit, maybe leg kicked a bit, whatever it is that Moraes lands, I'm not sure that he's going to want to throw so much on the feet. So I lean Moraes decently. I might end up with a little play on it. It seems like a lot of people like Font in this spot, so maybe I'll wait and see if I can get a better line. But I do lean to Moraes, whether it's a stoppage early or maybe a close but hopefully clear decision. You never know with these fucking scumbag judges.
Yeah.
Next up, welterweight division, and this fight is just nuts. We got the backflip dude against the dude that everybody wants to crown because he's thrown 2 punches and landed 2 punches in the UFC. Sean?
Hell yeah. Fucking Chaos Williams, round 1 TKO plus 500. I put a quarter unit on that, and I put him by TKO at plus 185 for a unit. I just think that this is likely going to be a stand-up fight. I know Pereira's kind of shot some takedowns, but I think Chaos Williams can kind of force it into a striking fight, and dude has big power. That was a really nice knockout against Al Hassan. The Morono knockout is what it is, but he's got big power. Pereira can be hit. He does dumb shit. I think he's got a chance at knocking him out early. But
we're just about to disagree, Tyler.
Oh, I know.
Wes, what do you got?
Now tell me why I'm absolutely fucking wrong, Wes.
Yeah, could that happen? Yeah, absolutely. Chaos Williams does he punches, but that's the thing. Like, if it doesn't, I think it's bad for him. Now this is on the fact that I'm banking on last fight Pereira showing up and not doing backflips off the fucking top of the cage during the fight. Pereira shows up. I just think there's just way too much hype off of a guy that's got a couple of nice knockouts, like the last one against Alisson was nice, but come on, Morono, and then before that it's like Kansas City. I think Pereira is the better all-around fighter. If this does get out of the first, he's a legit black belt too. If this hits the mat at any point, I don't know if Chaos Williams has been on the mat in a fight. Not anything that I've seen. It's been a while. So, I'll take a little Pereira here, and I think it's a lot to do with more. I think this is just a lot of hype on a guy that's got a couple highlight reel KOs. The last one, not bad. Don't get me wrong, but what do we really know at this point? I've at least seen Pereira in there not acting a fool and fight a pretty well-rounded, decent fight. So I'm going to take a little bit here. It's not a big bet, but I like Pereira.
Yeah, I've got to side with Wes on this one. Could it happen where Chaos lands something big again? Sure, that's a possibility. What did you say you got that at? The round 1 KO at plus 400, Sean?
500.
500. That's fine. That is an absolutely reasonable bet. If you're laying
bet on that just to have it,
if you're laying even money on this dude that honestly we know nothing about. I'm sure that you can go back and watch his regional fights against 8-10 Bo Yan and 6-5 Ladarius Jackson, and going to a decision with 17-19 Tony Hervey, who's a name I actually recognize because he fought Gomi back in Valley Tudo, Japan, way back in the day. But you can't learn anything from that. So what happens when he doesn't land that punch? So sure, putting plus 500 on the punch, I'm behind that. But if it goes beyond that, I think Pereira has more to his game. So I'm not betting it, but if I was betting this, I would be putting the close to even money on the guy that we've actually seen good stuff out of, rather than the guy that we've seen the one big thing out of. Because what happens when the one big thing does not happen?
And it ain't like Pereira hadn't like back in his can fighting shit, wasn't like highlight reel knocking motherfuckers out. He was doing the same shit that Chaos Williams was doing. So yeah, I mean, I just think he's the more well-rounded guy when it's not just a one-punch knockout type fight.
Yeah, just a super quick scroll through Pereira's record. The guys that he went to decision with, one was 7-0, one was 12-3, 12-4, 8-2. Like he's gone to decisions with guys that at least have good records. Chaos has gone to decision with a guy that's 17-19, 7-7. Like
those are vets, Brad. Those are veterans.
They know how to survive. So yeah, like. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't gone back and watched those fights. I'm not going to. The amount of money I bet on this isn't worth it. But I think that if it goes long, Pereira. Yeah, plus 500 on the real short though. I can deal with that. Next up, Sean, you're gonna have to go first on this one because, man, I'm waiting for the hot takes, but we have Jose, not Jose, it's Jose, Portuguese, Brazilian, Hard J, taking on Marlon Vera. And man, how much does the UFC wish that Marlon Vera was Mexican? Because they keep hyping all these dudes as this is the real Mexican now. And Vera's probably better than all those dudes.
Yeah, the Ecuadorian aspect is a bit unfortunate because he could be a bigger fighter. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of fading Aldo here. I kind of think that was a pretty life-changing beating he took against Peter Yan. He's kind of taken a couple of those. He took 2 against Holloway and then another one against Yan. He's taken a lot of punishment. I know he's only 34 years old, but we've seen at the lower weight classes, these guys can fall off a cliff at much younger ages compared to higher weight classes. This is a big step up for Vera. Aldo looked awesome against Yan early. But man, that beating is crazy. That was only, 5 months ago? I mean, that's a decent time off, but that was a pretty big beating. Another cut down to 135. Chito Vera looked good in his last fight out. I think he beat Song Yadong before that. He keeps improving. I got plus 150. I threw a unit on it. It's kind of a fade of Aldo, and Vera's getting better. These guys are about to trash what I just said. So I like Vera. It's kind of just a spot thing. I think Aldo might be done, and it's going to be very sad. So it's going to be a sad couple weeks if Aldo goes down for some older Brazilians.
Wesley, what do you have to say about that?
Look, he better pray to everything that was the last of Aldo and the Peter Yan fight. Because that'd be everything I would think I'm banking my money on, because this ain't close if Aldo isn't like completely done. I don't think so. Like he took some fairly decent beatings in the Holloway. I mean, he might have looked as good as he ever has against Peter Yan at the beginning of that fight. Like,
until he got dropped.
I mean, that Aldo shows up in the first couple rounds against Vera. Jesus Christ, man. He is absolutely murdering. I don't think that happens. Don't get me wrong. Vera's a tough guy. And I do like Vera. I've made some money on Vera. I made a ton of money on Vera against fucking O'Malley. So I like Vera. I think it does come down to that. Aldo's got to be like done from the Jan fight because I just everywhere he's just so much better than Vera everywhere. Um, I'm betting Aldo here. You're gonna have to prove me wrong. Like absolutely, you're gonna have to prove me wrong. He's better than Barrett every which way, and yeah, do I that's what you have to worry about a little bit. That was a pretty bad beating he took. 5 months is a good time off after a fight. We'll see. I'm taking Aldo. That price is just crazy against Vera. You're got to be banking on that he's just completely done. I don't think so.
I am.
You better be, because that, like Wes said, that's the only reason. And I feel like if he was so broken from that fight, he wouldn't be back in a fight, especially at bantamweight 5 months later. I just don't see that happening. He looked good in that fight, and his entire career, although obviously one of my favorite fighters ever, so completely biased here, but he's never lost to someone as bad as, and like, not to disparage Marlon Vera because he's a good fighter, but he's never lost to someone at Marlon Vera's level. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And correct. But this is also his biggest step down in a fight in a decade. Like, honestly, if you go back and look through where he was and where other guys were at their careers when he fought them, I think this is his biggest step down in a fight since he fought Chris Mickle in a super gimme fight in the WEC, where there's like, we want to get this kid on TV. We want to get him on like 2 months after he just had this awesome knockout, and we're going to build him up. So I think this is his lowest level of competition since then. And again, it's not, I'm not trying to shit on Vera by saying this. It's just that Aldo has fought a ridiculous run of guys over his career. And now, obviously, he's not what he was. He was the greatest featherweight of all time, is the greatest featherweight of all time, but he's still got all of the skills that went into that. And I don't think that Marlon Vera, a guy that loves to come out and throw leg kicks, and that's a big part of his offense, I don't think you're going to be able to come out and leg kick Aldo. You can kind of stall him out like Volkanovski did, or just completely outpace him over 5 rounds like Jan did. But he's still going to have success in those spots, and he did against better guys than Vera. So, yeah, I think that Aldo is going to make Vera fight at his pace, and I think he's probably going to win a decision here because Vera is super tough. But man, I would give up my voice Lance style if Aldo can do a rib roaster on Vera like he did on Jeremy Stevens, because that'd be a thing of beauty. So
every time he dips down a little bit off of a loss of a title fight or something like that, he obliterates a guy every single time. He's like, nope, I'm still Aldo. If he's making, I agree with like what you said. It was a good point too. Like, Aldo's never been the guy to like rush back into a fight either after taking it. He takes his time off. Him making 135 again, knowing that he's gonna make it and shit, I think that says a lot about that too, and where his head's at coming in, and his health.
So all that to be said, when Aldo dropped down to minus 140 at this point, I had to unload pretty good on that. Limits were still low, so I've only got 2 units on Aldo. But man, I like him in this spot. He's just it's fucking Aldo against Marlon Vera.
He better be shot, Sean. He better be done. He better be completely done.
That's the only way.
I'm gonna be here's the thing. I'm gonna be very right or very wrong. Either Aldo is gonna be shot and Vera's gonna look very, very good, or I'm gonna be very wrong and Vera's gonna look very bad against a game Aldo. So I guess we'll see.
Even if Aldo isn't shot and he comes out and he whoops his ass for 2 rounds, I think Vera is still going to be there in the 3rd round, and he's going to make that competitive. just because that's the kind of guy he is. So,
I
I think he comes out of this fight looking good, regardless.
Yeah, I do too. Vera's tough, man. I like Vera. He, even saying all that about Aldo, I do like Vera. That was just an incredible cash last time.
Yep.
I always love
Love that one. But it's Jose Aldo. I mean, come on. Main event time, welterweight division. We have, you know what? I've never been a fan of Stephen Thompson, but he's done some very cool shit in his career. So he's one of those guys. He's starting to come towards the end a little bit. So I'll give him his credit. He's all right, and he seems like a good dude. I'd have a beer with him. But he has taken on, man, who was the last really athletic dude that Stephen Thompson fought?
Woodley?
It was probably Woodley, right? He's taken on the first hog analysis contender of the night since Woodley in Jeff Neal. And we'll see. Wes, let's start off with you on this one. How do you think this is going to go for old Wonder Boy?
Yeah, I'm leaning not good. I mean, if it plays out like I think, I think Neal can push the fight, man. I just most of the time Thompson can have success against guys that don't do a lot. Neal's usually pretty aggressive in his fights, and I mean, he hits with power. I know he was sick or some shit. Like, I think that's something you probably have to think about a little bit going into this fight. It wasn't that long ago. I'm not sure exactly what ended up being wrong with him, but I mean, he was in a hospital, like almost dead or some shit, I believe. So, I think his aggression here is going to play a big part. If he does, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it does get out of first, second round, it's going to say a lot about Neal because those usually play those kind of rounds play into Wonder Boy's game usually. Guys usually start sitting back a little more and it lets him tee off. I mean, say what you will about Wonder Boy, if you don't pressure him, he can look good on you, can pull out just crazy shit. I think Neal gets him out of there, though. I think he catches him. It seems like Wonder Boy's getting a little bit older. He gets caught with shit and gets hurt a little bit now. So gonna go Neal. Maybe a small bet. I haven't bet him yet. But if I bet anything on his fight, it's gonna be the Neal.
All right, Sean, tell him why he's wrong.
I mean, there is a good chance that Jeff Neal is completely fine after being, his words not mine, on his deathbed 5 months ago. You got that. You got COVID training. I've been a fan of Jeff Neal. I've won some money on him. He's been very good. I think he is going to be very good. I think this is a very tough matchup coming back from being on your deathbed and COVID training. Wonder Boy, when he's in, for the most part, stand-up fights, it's a tough fight for those guys. I know Pettis caught him, and if Neal catches him, like, that's not the most surprising thing. Neal has big power, and Thompson can be hit at times, but generally in stand-up fights, Thompson is very, very good, and he kind of forces you to either have a boring-ass kickboxing karate fight, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think Neal is going to come forward, and that kind of plays into Thompson's hand. He is a counter striker. He could get caught with Neal coming in, but that's what Thompson wants to do. He wants guys to come in. He is getting older. He's 37 years old, so those reactions are getting slower by the day. But in my opinion, this is going to be his kind of fight. He's got good takedown defense. I don't think Neal's gonna shoot too much, and if he does, I think he gets stuffed. So I think this is gonna be on the feet, and Thompson has a pretty good shot in any striking fight. I mean, he showed how good he was last time out against a guy that we know is flawed, but is an aggressive fighter and usually comes forward. I do think Jeff Neal is better than Luque, but it's just a small one unit play on Thompson plus 100. There's a decent amount of questions coming out of the Neal camp, even though I do think he's a very good up and coming fighter.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one again. I've been indecisive this week. What can I say? Hanukkah is just a time to reflect on things and really think about things deeply. So, that's what I've been doing. But I've come to a decision in this one. And that decision is that I'm going to take the under. I don't actually want to choose a side. I just think there's going to be a finish. I think what Sean's saying about Wonder Boy being a counterpuncher is very true. Obviously, he's had his best success with guys coming at him and him being able to just piece him up. And I think a little bit of that can happen in this fight because Neal's defense is above Luque's, but I think my defense is above Luque's, so that doesn't say a lot. Neal's gonna get hit if he comes in and he's aggressive, but at the same time, the last guy who was this athletic and fought Thompson, he was also a counterpuncher, but the 2 times in their 10 rounds of fighting that he decided to go first, he also landed some massive shit on Thompson. And I think as long as Neal is physically okay, he can probably do that same sort of thing. Even if Thompson's setting things up and waiting for him and doing, weird karate shit, I think Neal can still get there and land first. And I think if he lands, it's going to be big and it's going to put him out. But if he doesn't, he's going to be right there for Thompson. So I think the small cage helps. I mentioned that earlier. And I think there's just going to be exchanges in this fight. And I have no confidence knowing who's going to land in those exchanges. But somebody is going to land. And both of these guys are all right in terms of their durability, but we've both seen them clipped and rocked. And in Thompson's case, he's been put out. So I think there's a stoppage. So I'll take that under 3.5. It's basically around even money right now. Looking at,
lay it at 4.5.
What was that?
Unless you want to lay it at under 4.5.
I could do that too. Either one's fine. I wouldn't play the 4.5 because 4.5 and Ghost Decision are the exact same price at Dimes.
I saw that.
Oh man, they're good at stuff. So that's your weekly reminder to go and have different accounts, different places, because you can get some stupid lines in some places if there's things that you are confident in happening. I don't know what our plan is, but there's a 3-week break between cards. We probably got to do some end of year shit. We got to do the champion prediction show. We've got to, I think Lance is going to come back to the podcast with a voice box. Yeah, that's right. Would like to play a game.
I'm radar.
So we'll see what happens over the holidays, but I think
get a break. We get a break from UFC.
Yeah, we'll get a break from all our tape study, man. It's exhausting. I got to tell you.
Yeah. Probably take 2 weeks off and then do the preview show the first week. And then the next week, if COVID just doesn't absolutely annihilate that card, it's actually a decent card. But don't look at it now because it'll completely change.
I have not looked at it at all.
I can't look that far ahead anymore.
We got anything for folks before we sign off for 2020?
Are we gonna thank our 4 fans for listening?
We got like 10.
Yeah,
we got double digits. It's like,
and at least if it is only 4, I mean they've got at least 2 or 3 burners each. Because I see different names in there. Giving us bets.
I mean, Bo's watching this on 3 separate accounts. You know what I mean?
Pumping up those numbers.
Yeah.
Go on, man.
I don't know what to say. Those of you who do actually listen to us, Much appreciated. It was fun coming back to the podcast this year and watching this circus of a sport again, and maybe keep me around a while.
The podcast kind of changed a little because of the pandemic. Like we're completely different crew. Yeah,
it's worked out all right though.
Times are changing. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah,
Sean, anything for the people?
Not much. Like I said, Lance is going to be on all the fucking steroids. So come the first week of January, he will be back. He has every 5 years he gets these like diseases that nobody's heard of and nobody can figure out why he's sick, and it lasts like months. And
He's had AIDS like 3 times.
yeah, it's crazy. So we were due for one of these, but he wants to come back really bad. It's just he can't talk, and for a guy like Lance, that's tough. He likes to hear himself talk, so it's got to be torture for him right now. But
you can only do so much of the drawing and
the drawing board
pictures. That shit
he'll
doesn't
have the drawing board back in 2021. Don't worry.
You might need it.
Yeah, that's why you got to tune in, folks. You got to see the visuals of the drawing board now. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been a weird year. I came back, Lance came back, Jay left. Rest in peace, Jay. I know you're up there chilling with Pizza Boy. And
betting on live betting Rocky 4.
It's what everybody wants to do when they're up there. Live bet Rocky 4.
Baby Dick was back for an episode.
One episode.
What a year. Yeah.
Back in every once in a while. So it's been fun. We had some tout tales with Jerry. So 2020 has been a good year for the show. It's been an entertaining year, and we will be back in 2021, and just see what this wonderful sport brings us.